We love our country, and we want to talk a little bit about today how we can encourage our fellow Latino, our fellow immigrants, to participate in the political process. We do know that the Hispanic participation in the political process tends to be a little lower than other communities. So um, that's the whole purpose of the PAC. We want to, we not only are we a PAC, a political action committee that actually endorses candidates and donates money to candidates and helps candidates, but we're also a 501c4, which is a IRS status. We're a nonprofit, so we do a lot of education, motivation in the community. And so, we do this Facebook Live every week. We take your questions and your comments, so you can make, as Andrea says, you can make your question. Hagan sus preguntas, which translated in English means make your questions, but it is ask your questions.
Well, I
So,
learned
Andrea,
that. I learned that. Well, buenos días a todos y bienvenidos a nuestro nuevo nombre, TLC Live, porque ahora estamos en vivo a través de Facebook y también estamos en vivo a través de YouTube, así que usted se puede conectar en cualquiera de las dos plataformas. Y hoy estamos con una invitada súper especial, Carmen María Montiel. Carmen, tú eres... y cuando te dije reina es porque eres reina. Carmen
Pues sí.
María, o sea, cuéntanos primero que todo, eres de Venezuela. So first of all, you're from Venezuela, but you are the former Miss Venezuela, because you're very well known in this city, but many people don't know you, especially the ones that doesn't live in Houston.
Yes, well, I came from Venezuela to go to school 32 years ago. And yes, I'm a former Miss Venezuela. And once you're always Miss Venezuela, because that's how everybody introduced me, even in politics. So I always feel like I won a Grand Slam or something. And I'm a true conservative. And I always say, especially, not only I was raised as a conservative, as a capitalist, but what happened in Venezuela is really what made me active into the conservative movement, because I always say I lost a country, I don't want to lose another one.
For sure. So you're former Miss Venezuela. You came to this country, and also you were an anchor of one of the TV stations, Spanish TV stations, and that was before I came to this city. So before I came to Houston, you were the anchor of one of the Spanish television, and then when I came here, I was also the anchor of the other one. So
I was with Telemundo, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
a journalist.
You're a
That's
journalist.
my career. And that's what I came here to the United States to finish my degree and into journalism in East Tennessee State University. I graduated in 1991. And I came to Houston straight to Telemundo as a reporter, and then I was the anchor woman.
so
for
y'all
many
were
years.
competitors. She was at Univision, you were at Telemundo.
Yes, but we never competed because she came afterwards.
came
so
after.
I was already gone. I was
Yeah.
busy having babies.
yeah, correct. So what happened from Miss Venezuela to a journalist, a reporter, TV?
Well, I think that as journalists, we always flirt with the idea of politics. I think we're very
I can do
near.
that. I can do that.
See?
Yeah, that's what you say, right? I can do that.
Yeah, no, it's that we're so, we have so much information. We see what's going on. We start realizing, especially in my time, we were supposed to be neutral, which is not what's happening right now. And
Correct. In our time, it was completely different than
Yes.
these times.
I always said that journalism is dead right now.
Yeah.
Our career is dead. Journalism is dead. So I was like, if I sympathize, and then my grandfather, he was not a politician, but he served in different positions
Here
in Venezuela.
Oh, in Venezuela.
In Venezuela, because he always took it as a way to serve our country, and then so I think it's inherited with the journalism. But for me, it's the main factor was what happened to Venezuela, and when I realized I need to be active, because I always say I saw the signs, and I think we're seeing the signs very clear right now, that we can go that route in United States, and I say to save this country.
So, aside from being a journalist and a competitor in a, potentially Miss Universe contest,
Yeah,
right?
Second.
Yeah. Um,
I need to tell you that I almost got it.
Wow.
no one ever remembers who came in second place. People don't remember I came in second place. You have to win.
We have to win.
Anyway, you became a candidate. You became a candidate for office. You've campaigned in the Latino community in Harris County. What can we do to encourage? Because one of the things I've learned in campaigning for 25 years in Harris County is that our fellow Latinos of whatever, if they're Mexican, Colombian, Venezuelan, Cuban, or Peruvian, Nicaraguenses, they all say one thing: we're conservative.
Yes.
And yet we see the results. We're not winning the vote. So what can we do to get the Latino conservative to participate on our side of the aisle?
Well, let me tell you, you're right. And that's when I ran 2 years ago for Congress. It was, I know we are conservative at heart because it's the way we're raised. Family is important to us. Faith is important to us. We're hard workers. We have pride and dignity in our work. And we come to this country to work, and we don't want a government that controls us, I always say, and we don't want to pay more taxes. Who wants to? We want a government that serves us. The thing I've seen is the message. And I think especially the Democratic propaganda. And I always talk about symbols and semantics. Symbols, color red. We, in our countries, worldwide, red is the color of communism. And of course, you come here and you see the Republican Party, you see, well, that's red. So no, they're communists. Which, historically, blue was the color of the Republicans. And for the election of George Bush, the senior, that's when they flip it to red. I believe it was late 80s. And we Republicans tend to be quiet. We don't fight. The Republicans should have at that time say, you know what, you did it for this election, but give us back our color.
It's interesting you say that Republicans don't fight. One of the funniest things, not funny, actually, one of the interesting things is that you hear conservatives talk about, oh, the liberals call us racist, right?
Yep.
And the Republicans never highlight the fact that the Republican Party was founded for the sole purpose of freeing slaves,
Exactly.
for providing constitutional guarantees and liberties to the African Americans in the United States in the 1860s and 1850s and 1830s. And people don't even mention that Plessy versus Ferguson, I believe that was the case, was almost a unanimous case in the United States Supreme Court, which said that separate but equal was the law of the land, and it was a good law. There was only one dissent, and the dissent was a Republican. And so we don't talk about how President Eisenhower fought for the freedoms and liberties offered by the Constitution for the African American community. We never discuss the fact that the civil rights legislations in 64 and 65 were saved by Republicans.
By Republicans.
And so when the left accuses us of being racist,
We stay quiet.
we stay quiet, we put our head down, we walk away. And so I like your concept of fighting back.
We need
of
to fight back.
telling them the truth.
Well, and that's what I say. And then the semantics is the Democrats, their name, so they come here looking for democracy, and then you have the Democrats. And then the Democrats have this propaganda saying that they are the party of the minorities and they are the party of human
Yeah,
rights.
and the party of the the Republicans are the party of the rich, right? Who
Exactly.
doesn't want to be rich in this country? Join the
Everybody.
Republican Party. We all want to be rich. We all want you to be rich.
Exactly. And that's what I
I
say.
want to be rich.
Capitalism is the only system that pulls people out of poverty, while socialism puts everybody into poverty. And that's what I say. And I think one of the things that Trump has done is to teach Republicans to fight back. But we need to all do that.
So, as a journalist, Carmen Maria, what can we do? Because I mean, we're not in the inside of any media, but we're still journalists. What can we do, and what can we tell other people, or other students that they're studying journalism, and they're seeing these things, because they were not in our time as a journalist. They're now watching this news, and it's like, okay, if you watch this, it's from the left. If you watch this, it's right. If you watch this, they're like, we don't know what they are. So what can we tell the new or the future journalists and just people in general?
Well, let me tell you, the problem is all the networks and the news outlets. When you see the owners, it all goes up to 2 or 3 corporations that own all of them, and they're dictating what can be said and what cannot be said. And right now, of course, it's all about left, because even Fox is moving towards the left now, more liberal. So what we need to say is the problem is people have lost their dignity. And I understand and said they get to their job and they say, this is what you have to do, and this is what you have to
Like
say.
a puppets.
Exactly. And if they don't do it, then they lose their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to, I was telling Orlando, we need another outlet. Especially in Spanish, there is no conservative outlet.
Not at all.
You are either Univision, Telemundo, and it is liberal, and that's all they have to hear. And one of the things we do is, thanks God now, social media. It's with YouTube, with exactly what we're doing right now to spread the news. I have a 15-year-old son. My girls are older. And my son watched all the conservative people in YouTube. And
Does he watch me?
no, I need to tell you to watch it.
Well, at least you need to tell him to watch today that
You
money
know
is
what?
on.
You're not cool enough.
That I know. That I know.
But he watched very interesting people, and the discussions that we have are very interesting, and I'm very proud of him because, for example, let me tell you one of the things he was telling me. He was telling me that in TikTok, right now, one of the things they do in TikTok is that vote blue no matter who. And this is a message, to brainwash.
Of course.
And my son was very aggravated. He said, Mom, so you mean if Hitler is the candidate, I have to vote blue? I said, but at least my son sees it. But many of the other kids said, well, we have to vote blue. And that's what they've been doing to the Latino people. When you drive to the district of Latinos, they have these signs that say, vote Democrat, vote Democrat. So people just tend to follow those things. We're not fighting hard enough.
I think we have a big time a lack of education, and also
That's why we're around.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not gonna blame just the media. I think we, as an individual, we have a big responsibility to get educated, and these days it's so easy because whatever you Google, it's there, and so before I can understand. In our time, it was no social media. Internet was just started, and I remember 25 years ago, and it was not this like you Google it and everything is gonna come up, but these days it is. So I don't think it's an excuse. I know the media has a big responsibility, but also as an individual, we have a big responsibility. Like my son and my daughter, they are in a private school. So my daughter is in St. Agnes. My son is in a Strake. They do attend also Strake. And my daughter is part of the conservative groups. They have, this is the first time I see it.
But that's good. The school has it.
The school has it. I don't know if of the public school has that or they provide these choices for the kids. But St. Agnes does, and I love it because they're, they're raising girls with the autonomy. They're raising girls that they smart, and since at this age, 15 years old, and my daughter started a freshman in 14 years old, and right away, without me telling her anything, she joined the conservative club. So they have clubs. It's a conservative, it's the liberal, and they have meetings every month. And it's beautiful to see that. And in my son case, he's not joining any club at the school, but when you talk to him, it's like your son, like 15 years old, talking about the values. He doesn't understand very well about politics, but he understands the values that we see at home. Family. We're very close. We are conservative in a way that we do certain things, and like for us, it's very important.
So what's the
the
disconnect?
family.
Let me
What's
tell
the
you,
disconnect?
the
I mean,
di-
how we used to get 50%, almost 50% of the Latino vote in Texas used to go conservative Republican when George W. Bush was governor of Texas. How come we're down in the 20s now?
Well, I think that the fight that the Democrats have put up, it's much bigger. They have accused us of pretty much everything there is on the book. Like, for example, right now, with George Floyd, he was killed in Minneapolis, and somehow Mr. Trump, who is in Washington, gets blamed for it. And what happens is nobody comes and stop it or say anything. The media runs with that show, and the only people saying anything is Fox. And we need to get the message out and be more vocal. One of the people I'm going to tell you, for example, for the kids are doing all of this, watching. So I think this generation, we need to protect it because they're doing something. The millennials are the major problem.
Mhm.
There is this guy who is a conservative. I think he's in Sweden. It's called P. Diddy or something like that. This guy is a super conservative, and he have millions and millions of followers. And CNN wanted to throw him out. CNN put up a huge fight because not even CNN has the followers P. Diddy have.
Wow.
And the guy, and he didn't start as a conservative. He started as a YouTuber. And what happened is, then with everything that's happening, well, he's a conservative YouTuber, and the attack was so hard that he had to take a break. So he took a couple of month breaks, and now he's back, because we all understand this fight is global.
Andrea brought up an interesting point. She has been monitoring, and I don't. I don't know if it was you that brought it up or somebody else brought
Yeah,
it
I
up.
did.
The comments on Univision
Yeah.
here locally in Houston.
Yeah, so I always
And I
see-
just could not believe what she was telling me yesterday. Have you been to Univision's website and seen was it on the website?
It's on the Facebook page, on Univision Facebook page, and also Telemundo.
The local
Facebook,
one?
the local news, Telemundo.
So
and
tell us a little bit what's going on.
So, I follow all the Facebook pages or all the news in English and Spanish, and it brought my attention because I was in shock myself, reading 80% of the comments when they were doing the coverage of George Floyd, and all the comments were in Spanish. They were sick and tired of the media or the Spanish media covering that and canonize the guy and forget about, so what happened with COVID-19? So no COVID-19 anymore? So what about the hurricane season? What happened with the storm that is coming our way? So nobody wants to cover that? Why you guys put just, and everybody was commenting very negative. And some of the comments were like very nasty, like telling the reporters, you go back to your country. You're doing really bad on the news. You don't even know how to report anything. You guys are not objective anymore. Like aggressive comments, and all in Spanish, 80%, and if it's no more, I just want to be conservative on my statement. 80% of the comments were negative against the coverage of Univision and Telemundo.
Which shows us that there is a place for us. It shows us that people, yes, they manipulate people for a long time, but I think people is getting awake. People, because they just throw all of this on us in this year, and people is not buying this. It's like that. They close us in our house, and it was so dangerous to come out. Oh, but to go to riots, then it's okay to get out.
Correct.
So all the information contradicts everything that had happened, and people smart.
People are not stupid, and this is another thing, Carmen Maria, that it brought my attention, that they were not only, okay, it's fine, they need to cover that story, it's fine, but there were no way. So why you are canonizing this guy? What about his criminal record? What about, and everybody was saying like a disclaimer at the beginning of the comments.
Let's not get too far into that. I mean, I want to bring it back.
No, I'm just saying the comments.
No, I understand. And so what was interesting to me, because I've had this conversation before, As
And
you
we
guys,
have had this
as
conversation
you know,
before. Yes.
I've been involved in local politics a lot longer than you guys have, but Andrea knows this, and I publicly state this all the time. Look no further than the local Univision channel in Houston. In 1997, we had 6 members of the Houston City Council and the controller were Latinos. But Univision and Telemundo covered City Hall every week. Andrea
I remember,
used to
I
be
was
there.
one of
They used to
those.
send a cameraman, not an MMJ, but a camera person and a reporter. They would actually do interviews after the city council meetings. They would delve into the issues that we voted on the agenda and report to the Latino community what was going on in local politics at the city of Houston and in Harris County and the state of Texas. Fast forward to 2020, we now have the city council of Houston has grown by 2. One was specifically designed for a Latino. We're down to 1 Latino on the Houston City Council. And why is that? Because Univision and Telemundo have checked out of local coverage, so they do not inform the local community about local politics. And that is a travesty because they're more interested in pushing a national agenda driven, as Carmen Maria says, from the corporate headquarters in Miami or New York or wherever they are, and they completely have abandoned local issues. To me, that's a travesty. And
It's the most important.
it's interesting to me that she brings up yesterday that if you go to Univision's Facebook page, all of the negative comments that are being made about their reporting. So I am extremely excited that the Latino community is starting to fight back, that they realize that they're being fed propaganda and not being given objective news. Am I right or wrong?
And that's where we need to step in. You're right. And let me tell you, one of the things you're talking about local politics, and that's what I was telling people, especially with all of this, is they don't report it. Why? Because like you say, it's more important for them the national agenda. And that's why, all our local politicians now have fallen into the left, are Democrats. And the most important it is our local people. Look what's happening, all the cities where the riots happen, they're Democratic cities. And if we don't tell the people to go to vote in local elections, the local problems are the ones that first affect us. And we need to be active.
They
also
stop covering local, and why it's the purpose to have a local station if they're not going to cover
To
local?
inform the community.
Correct. So, and in my time, and I think in your time, we were 90% local, covering news.
I
And
knew.
it was just one little segment, probably 2 minutes of the whole newscast that we were covering something national that affect the local.
Us. Because
Correct.
for that was the national newscast.
Correct.
Our newscast was for the local news, and
Yeah.
then right after us, it
But
was
it's
the
always
national
been like that.
newscast.
After that, it's always the news, the national news. So why the local that are not focusing on local? I don't get it.
Because
And-
the bosses.
no, and
This is the
and this is
boss's
another
plan.
thing, and this is another thing
But
that
it's not the
lately.
news, it's agenda driven.
This is another thing that is happening. So they're short on staff, and little by little, they're like letting go the best reporters because the one that has more time, the most expensive they are. So they
Exactly.
don't want to pay for that. So they're hiring these little kids that they just came out from college, and they pay.
You mean young people, not little kids.
Excuse my English. These young people, he always correct. This is an English class also every time that we do Facebook Live. These young people that they just finished college, and they hire them, of course, because it is less expensive, and they don't have the experience, and so
And they're manageable.
and so what happened? So what is easier for the networks or for the local stations? Just bring everything from the feed that all the national stations are sending to them, so they don't have to hire more people.
And
So-
regurgitate.
And they feed. Just the only thing they do is just feeding the half an hour. So they have to feed it somehow, but not necessarily with local because they don't have enough people to do that. That's the biggest problem.
I want, let me ask your opinion, because I have my own opinion. That's what the O in my name stands
And we're having
for.
comments, so
It doesn't
finish
stand,
it and say
it doesn't,
Orlando
it
O
doesn't, it
goes
doesn't
for
stand
opinion.
for Orlando, it stands for opinion. Anyway, everybody wants to complain about the media, and the media in the free market is no different than any other organization, a beverage company, a beer company, a cereal company, a gas station. They're competing for eyeballs, right? The more eyeballs they have, the more money they make when they charge for commercials.
Exactly.
But what is that social media came out. So now everybody, here's the example. Right now, if in Venezuela there is an earthquake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to get your information? Not from CNN, not from Fox, not from MSNBC. You're going to pick up your phone and go to your family and friends on Twitter and find out exactly what's going on at that very second.
Social media.
That's where people get their information. So everybody with one of these has become a reporter. Everybody has an opinion. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is that now the media is saying, oh my, we're losing the eyeballs. We're losing revenue on advertising. This happened to the print business, the newspaper business. Everybody knows newspapers are going out of business left and right because everybody's relying on social media. On social media, everybody is a reporter. Now, I do believe this, that reporters are trained in journalism school to be fair, right?
Yes.
And so we have lost.
Objective.
We have lost.
And to fact check
we have
our
lost
stories.
the profession of journalism.
It's gone.
There is no more journalism. There's
It's dead.
just opinions.
Okay,
call
we
it
have
propaganda.
Am I right?
It's
Okay.
It's propaganda.
Okay,
more
guys,
than
we have
opinion.
comments. Let's
Okay,
read some of the
comments.
comments.
It's propaganda.
We have Alfredo Arellano.
Hola, Alfredo.
Alfredo, ¿cómo estás? He said, we Latinos will be the reason Joe Biden will lose his third presidential run. We are waking up and rising up.
Amen.
We're waking up and rising.
Rising up,
Okay.
rising up.
All right, thank you
And
for
then
that
Frank Heredia, he said, Univision and Telemundo. News today. Number 1, COVID. Number 2, immigration rates and put fear in people. Number 3, make look bad our president. That's
People
Frank
will say,
Heredia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no question, but comments.
Speaking of, I want to bring up my favorite topic, which is immigration. And what we can do, because we're all immigrants, right? And
Yep.
I don't know if you know, but I think you do, that our PAC spent a little money polling conservative primary voters in the state of Texas. And we asked the question if they would support or reject a legislation that would allow undocumented families that have been here a long time, who have children that are U.S. citizens, granting them a legal status provided they don't and have not violated the penal code of the state of Texas or the United States. There's no pathway to citizenship and is renewable every 5 years. And overwhelmingly, conservatives supported that concept. Why aren't we talking about that? Helping families that are, as Andrea says, in fear.
It's not in fashion right now. You see the news is a fashionable thing. It was fashionable to talk
So
about
immigration was fashionable when
Because of the wall.
The caravans were coming in.
With
but
the
now it's
caravans
like,
in the wall.
Now it's not an issue.
No, right now it's not fashionable. Now it's they want to give us a vaccine that God knows.
No,
what's
now
gonna
now
do.
it's not
And
COVID anymore.
Now it's not that even
It's not
anymore.
COVID anymore.
Now it's
It's racist.
racism, which doesn't exist. It's a creation. Actually, I do believe with African Americans during this time that they are embarrassed of what's happening.
Many.
They are embarrassed that they're being used.
Yeah.
In
By the
this
way,
way.
wait. That's a great point. They're being used by whom?
By the liberals and by the media.
Exactly what I was saying the other night on Sunday night. If you remember, we were on ESPN Radio 97.5 in Houston, and we were live streaming, and we said that. I asked that question of my colleagues, African-American friends, Michael Yarbrough, who used to represent District B, the historic 5th Ward in Houston, went to Phyllis Wheatley High School, and Richard Johnson, and a veteran of the United States Air Force, and I said, do you guys, I really think the American media is feasting on showing the world that black men are all rioters and violent people, when in fact 99.9 of our African American community is at home, struggling to put food on the table, paying their taxes, going to church, raising their families, but the media is showing a negative image of the African Americans. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. And when you look at those videos, most of the people are not even African Americans. They're not
Correct.
even black.
Correct.
Do you know, have you learned that the colectivos from Venezuela are here as part of Antifa in the riots? You know, people are not talking about that. And that's
They're not talking about many things.
and that's what's going to tell you. So people from a communist regime to riot our country and our property, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And the media is having a fist with that, saying that that's okay.
So what, back to the state of Texas and back to our local elections, we have an election coming up November 2020. Texas, who was traditionally a red conservative state, is now considered a purple state and a battleground. What do we do, Carmen Maria, to encourage Latinos to participate and vote? What we still are voting not at the numbers where we could be. How do we encourage our conservative Latino families, particularly along the Texas border, because I live in the border. I have a second home in the border. The county I pay taxes in is one of the largest Latino counties in Texas, and they're conservative. So how do we get them out? How do we get them vocal? How do we get them registered to vote, encourage the children to vote? What do we do?
We need to tell them, look at what just happened, especially with COVID. I went to Laredo a couple of weeks ago.
I used to live there.
I went to Laredo because in Laredo, a democratic city, everybody that
Oh, they arrested one of their young Latinos.
I went there. That's what I went, because these people were put in a curfew and they still extended for another 30 days the lockdown, because that way they were getting more federal and state money. And if you work, because
Wow.
at some point people have to work because they need to eat, so they start working in their homes, they arrested. They sent a SWAT team to arrest these people.
Undercover officers.
Undercover.
And also, if these people are authorities or the MS-13, you know, it's you know, I imagine the mother of this little girl ended up in the hospital that day.
We interviewed her, by the way.
Young
That
girl,
interview-
young girl, not little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, the young girl.
Young lady.
Yeah, she was.
Young lady.
Yeah, she was here a couple of weeks ago. And let me tell you, and what I tell people is, look at that. Your countries, because of that, you came to this country for freedom. You came to this country
We
looking
all-
for opportunities.
We all?
We all did, but I'm talking to you. And I said, and if we lose that, I think the pandemic actually worked against the liberals, because it showed people what can happen to us. And just tell people, look at what just happened to all of us. Is that what you want, or is that what you fled from? And if you don't want that, vote Republican and put attention to our local elections and be active and go to vote.
We say vote conservative, so we need to wrap up. We have some more comments. You want to share the comments that are coming in?
No,
Or
those
is
are
it-
the same
okay,
comments,
same
yes.
comments. All right, well, we want to encourage you to join us. You can join us by liking our Facebook page, which is Texas Latino Conservatives. You can join the PAC for a little bit of a contribution monetarily, so that you can help fellow Latinos who want to be leaders in the political arena here in our county, our city, and our state. We're a state PAC. We don't get involved in federal elections. We can't help members, candidates running for congressional office. We don't get involved in the presidential race. But we do want to help our fellow Latino who's a conservative, who's interested in a good education, keeping taxes moderate. We understand we have to pay taxes, but we want to keep them moderate. We want to support our business people. We want to preserve our family. We want to exercise freedom in this country. We want to exercise our right to assemble when we want and not have a government give us permission to assemble. We want the right of free speech. We want the right to all the rights that are guaranteed to us in the Bill of Rights. That's what we fight for. We fight for liberty and freedom, free markets, and we fight for the rights of everyone, regardless of race, color, gender, sexual orientation, religious affiliation. We believe in the Constitution of the United States, which is the greatest constitution ever created, and it encompasses everyone that comes here and becomes a naturalized citizen or is born in the United States. We firmly believe that. And so if you believe, like we do, that this still is the greatest country in the world, and it's giving us, the three of us that you're looking at here, immigrants, the opportunity to raise our families, earn a living, participate in the political process.
To have the American dream.
I mean, to live the American dream, then join us. Who would have thought that in 1962, an immigrant like me, who couldn't even speak English, would become elected to help run one of the largest cities in America? And even in our county, who would have thought an immigrant like Lina Hidalgo would have been elected to run the third largest county in the United States? Folks, that only happens in America.
Yep.
If you like that, join the conservative movement. Join us, conservative Latinos, and have your voice heard.
And
Am I
spread
right
the
or
word.
wrong?
You're right.
Okay,
Spread the
I like
word.
that.
The thing is, spread the word. You follow us, but then tell more people.
Sean las cotorras. Hablen,
Exactamente.
que sean cotorras.
Es prefiero que sean chismosos.
By the way, that's the name of our newsletter. It's called El Chisme.
Es prefiero ser chismoso.
Sean chismosos.
Cuéntenle a todo el mundo.
Cuéntenle a todo el mundo que los conservadores latinos no somos lo que dicen los medios. Somos personas que nos encanta la libertad, nuestras familias, trabajar duro, ahorrar nuestro dinero.
Que nuestros hijos sean mejores que
nosotros hijos invertir en nuestras familias, es todo lo que queremos. Y sabemos que todos los latinos en el estado de Texas sienten igual, ¿no? Así
¿Sí?
que acompáñennos, háganse miembros del PAC. Andrea, ¿qué quieres decir? Despide.
Bueno,
porque ya estamos a media hora y ya la gente se cansa.
Yo quiero decirles a todos que este año ha sido un año sin precedentes, un año en el que hemos aprendido lecciones muy grandes que nunca habíamos visto en la vida lo que está pasando, y que por eso nos debemos motivar mucho más para aprender, para educarnos, para no dejarnos, dicen los mexicanos, meter el dedo, atole con el dedo, que nos den atole con el dedo, dicen los mexicanos, que no nos emboben, que no nos engañen. Tenemos que educarnos, y eso es lo más importante, que eso es lo único que tenemos, y que cuando vayamos a elegir a nuestros candidatos, sean locales, sean estatales o sean nacionales, que lo hagamos con conocimiento, no porque nos dijeron, no porque los medios nos contaron, no por nada, sino nosotros mismos con conciencia. ¿Por qué? Porque ese es el futuro y lo que nos va a impactar nuestra vida y la de nuestra familia, y eso es bien importante. Y sobre todo, padres, madres, yo soy mamá, tú eres papá, pero tu hija ya está grande, pero nosotros que somos madres de hijos menores de edad, tenemos que educarlos y concientizarlos, y no dejarlos que ellos tengan su idea ellos de comunicación o por el social media, sino nosotros tenemos que retomar a nuestros hijos e inculcarles esos valores que son tan importantes y que se han perdido. Así que vaya a nuestra página texaslatiноconservatives.com y por favor sea miembro, apóyenos
y compártanla con sus amigos.
Compartan este video también, compartan este live y compartan todas las cosas que tenemos aquí en el Texas Latino Conservatives y todo lo que estamos haciendo, porque de verdad hemos crecido, y sí, sea parte de nuestra familia. Y pues nada, véanos el próximo miércoles, que siempre tenemos invitados de lujo.
Y también vamos a resumir plática y politics.
Vamos a continuar con esto. Sí.
Así que si nos quieren ver en persona, vengan a cenar con nosotros, vayan a la página web o vayan a Facebook para que sepan dónde van a ocurrir las pláticas y politics. Son unas reuniones que hacemos en restaurantes locales, lo hacemos en Houston, lo hacemos en San Antonio, lo vamos a hacer en la frontera, lo vamos a hacer en Dallas. Así que vayan a la página, ahí está toda la información. Carmen María, te voy a dar unos segunditos para que le digas al público por qué se tienen que acercar a nosotros y votar como conservadores que somos.
Tenemos una responsabilidad. Yo siempre he dicho que votar no solamente es nuestro derecho
y deber,
es nuestra responsabilidad. porque la decisión que sale a partir del voto es lo que va a afectar nuestras vidas y las vidas de nuestros hijos. Y ahorita cuando ven lo que está pasando en todas estas ciudades, ustedes dicen, ¿cómo es posible? Chequen quién son las personas que son los gobernantes de las ciudades. Voten con conciencia, aprendan, sean participativos. Hasta para el school board, por favor, vayan a votar, porque esa gente es la que decide cómo educar a tus hijos. Eso es tan importante. Yo sé que ustedes dicen, tengo que ir a trabajar, pero ir a votar no te toma nada,
Y
por
ahora
el
en
amor de
inglés.
Dios.
Y ahora menos, sí.
I'm just telling you to participate, to be part of elections, to go to vote, especially locally, because it affects us. That voting is not only our right, but it's our duty, because whatever happened, the result of that election is what will affect our life and the life of our children. And even the school board, even that is as important, because those people are going to determine the education of our children. And we have to be clear that our children are being brainwashed in schools. I work hard redirecting my children all the time. And that's what we all need to be part of it. And we all need to stop watching the news. There is a propaganda, and start researching for yourself, please, and go to vote.
I love how she says news then propaganda.
Anymore. It's
Everybody,
propaganda.
most people know, I'm married to a journalist, a former.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary,
Feliz
Vanessa.
aniversario.
So my wife is a reporter in a mostly Hispanic city, and one of the things, I never get in her business, but I always tell her, please, whatever you report, just tell the people who, what, when, why, and where. Don't give them your opinion. Don't give them a slant.
Yeah.
Let them make their own decision. Give them the facts. There's a hunger in this country for the facts. What we're getting from the media, and particularly from the Spanish media in our city, is, as she says, propaganda, not the news. So, I'm sorry if my friends at Univision are watching and they're upset. It's just what's going on.
It's
Go to
what
your
it
own
is.
Facebook page and look at your own comments. So, who, what, when, why, and where, leave the opinions off to the side. Let us, who are professional opiners, do the opinion spreading. Anyway, I'm just kidding, but that's what we're facing. So get involved. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching us. We'll see you again next week. We're going to have, who's our guest next week? Do we know?
No, it's a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise. Tune in next week. Have
See
a
you
great
next week.
week. See you next week.
Thank
Nos
you.
vemos el próximo miércoles.
Bye.